Welcome to the Siblings Movie Reviews Podcast. I am your host, Rashad. Joining me, as always, is my sister, Richauna.
Hello.
And my wife, Mika.
Hey, hey.
Today, we are reviewing the movie The Creator. This is currently showing in theaters. This is going to be a non-spoiler reaction plus a full spoiler review. The Creator is starring John David Washington as Joshua, Emma Chan as Maya, Allison Janney as Colonel Howell, and introducing Madaline Yuna Volyes as Alphie. It is directed by Gareth Edwards. A brief summary of the plot. Against the backdrop of war between humans and robots with artificial intelligence, a former soldier finds the secret weapon, a robot in the form of a young child. Okay, so this movie, for me, it was a little bit mixed for me. I really enjoyed the action, as always. I love action movies. And I really enjoyed the visuals. Again, we're getting another movie that is centrally focused on AI, which we've had a lot of those for some reason this year. AI is always a hot topic these days in the media. But the things I really had issues with was the storyline. It was confusing. I really didn't know what was going on. When I saw the trailers, I thought it would be interesting because of, one, I was excited to see John David Washington. For those who don't know, it's the son of Denzel Washington. And I was just, excited to see him grow and become a more seasoned actor. And then, again, I was excited about the visuals. I was excited about the action. The story, I was a little bit like, I didn't really know what it was going to be about. I know it was going to be heavy sci-fi, but, most of the time throughout the movie, I was just lost. I couldn't really get a grasp on what the story was trying to accomplish. I mean, they were telling you a lot of things that really didn't make a lot of sense.
Yeah, and then they didn't explain it.
Yeah, and they didn't really explain it at all. So, I mean, it was very hard to follow, and I really didn't connect with any of the characters. They was just kind of like stuff I've seen before where, you got your hero character, you got your villain character and or antagonist, and it was just kind of like going through the motions, which Gareth Edwards is a good director. He did the Rogue One, a Star Wars story, which is a great movie, and I thought he brought his visual style and his good action storytelling chops to it. I just didn't. It's an original plot to the aspect that I haven't seen an AI movie done in this fashion. It wasn't just copy and paste like the other ones I've seen this year, but it was just a really tough watch for me. So I don't know if I can recommend this one, but I'll get a little bit more into details why I feel that way in the spoiler section. But for now, Mika.
I think it was definitely action filled, which is the part that I guess kind of kept me intrigued, trying to see what's getting ready to happen next. But as stated, it was hard to follow, trying to understand the storyline, the villain, all the things of where is this going, the importance of each character, and what this real storyline is and how we're ending up. It was, it was just kind of like, huh, oh, okay. And I mean, so I just kind of had just questions like,
Yeah, a lot of questions.
I mean, you know what I mean? Like, like I said, it was action packed, so which is great. But I mean, I guess my expectation coming into the movie, I just kind of expected some sci-fi. I didn't really know what was going to be what. In to me, I guess after watching the movie, it was just kind of like, oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Same. The same for me. I share much of both of you all's sentiments that it was very, very confusing, a lot of questions. And whenever information is introduced in a film, I always look at, have those things been resolved by the end? Or if not, are we going to lead into something else? Because there were so many questions and they were throwing so many different things at us,
Yeah.
it became hard to follow. and to keep me engaged. Like
Right.
I was bored in the middle of it.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was a little long.
It was,
Um,
yeah, it was
it
long.
should have been, maybe it was like 2 hours and some change. They could
Yeah.
have cut it down and did a lot more development with the story. I understand that the director is a very well known in different kind of sci-fi, like he did Star Wars and some other movies.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know much about the writer. Did I have? I don't think I have his name. Do you?
I think Gareth Edwards wrote it along with Chris Wetz. I've never heard of him, but
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm a story person,
Yeah.
and if that's what I do. Like I'm analyzing and connecting pieces of the story as I'm watching a film. I look for the ability to follow the story. I'm okay if you jumble it up, if you defragment it, and if you do things in different directions.
Yeah.
But if I can't follow you, then you lose me.
Yeah.
And that's what happened with this film. I just got lost and I never got found.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then the ending of it, it just. Oh, is this how we're ending it? Because
Well, the ending, I thought it got better towards the end because again, it was action packed and you can tell they were building towards something, but we were just lost so much along the way that the ending didn't pay off as much.
yeah, because I mean, it was supposed to be a bang, I guess, but was that it to the bang?
Yeah, I mean, well, the ending is that I guess, without we'll talk about that in the spoilers, but I guess they were trying to sum up the conflict between the AI and the humans at the end, which I thought they did that,
Yeah.
but you were just confused. Like I said, all along the story, it didn't really
And
pay
for
off.
yeah, and for it to be an original story, it's being touted as that it's an original concept, and many people are saying that in LA, I mean in Hollywood today, many films are not original.
That's true.
For it to have that kind of a tag, and then the amount of money they spend on the visual effects, and for them to
Yeah.
have access to all of that stuff,
Yeah.
the story just could have been way better for me.
Yeah, I agree with that. So, without further ado, we'll go ahead and move into the spoiler section. Again, for those people who don't want this movie spoiled, thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. So, we're going to give you a fair warning. 3, 2, 1. We are now in the spoilers. So, let's talk about the spoilers. So, in the beginning of the movie, there was a lot of things which is kind of added to the confusion. So, there was a quote that came up, which
Regarding Nirmana.
yeah, so
And it was the definition of Nirmana.
right, and I'll get into that later because that when you start off with that quote, it's almost kind of telling the audience that that aspect of the movie is important. And I don't really know to put that in the beginning before we kind of see what the story is about, because we're like, well, what is Namada and why are you trying to define it and blah, 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 blah. So it was kind of like weird that they put that quote at the beginning of
I
the
think
movie.
it was like something about a godlike creature, or
Well,
something like that.
Well, I was going to
like-
talk about it later, but it basically said that Namada is defined as or translate as the creator,
Okay.
which
yeah.
gives away a lot of what they were trying to build to in the story. But yeah, I'll kind of get my thoughts about that later. But it was weird. And then they cut to kind of like a 1970s newsreel style history of AI, which is weird because it was almost suggesting that they had been working on AI since around the 70s and they had gotten to some kind of this moral conflict of, should AI exist and blah, blah, blah. And it was kind of like a conflict between the Western civilization and the Eastern civilization, which is basically the US and China, and how they were going to pursue the AI technology. And like I said, they're giving you all this stuff and it's really not, I mean, it's a lot to throw at you in the beginning because you're like, I don't think John David's character showed up to maybe about 10-15 minutes in, and then they go into his story and how he's some undercover agent who was working for the US. And well, let me back up a little bit because the conflict is basically that the US doesn't want to continue to develop the AI technology. Which this is almost, uh, to be honest, a real conversation that is happening at this current time in current events. It's almost
Mm-hmm.
scary that Gareth Edwards kind of took that approach, but the U.S. didn't want to continue to develop the AI technology in fear that it would one day, wipe out humanity. And then there was something that happened. There was a bombing where there was a nuclear weapon that was released on Los Angeles, and it killed like tens of thousands of people. And basically, the U.S. took that as their opportunity to say, "Hey, this was AI going rogue, and it killed a bunch of people. So let's make it our effort to shut down the AI technology." And again, this is the point that I'm trying to make is that they're throwing all this stuff at you at the beginning, but they haven't really built the story. It's kind
Yeah.
of like they're just giving you a bunch of information, but they're not uh, playing it out throughout the movie.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because then it pushes down to a new time frame of
Right.
where we're in, and then it's like all these humans have been wiped out, and like half the humans are really AI
Yeah.
robots, and his story comes into play because it's confusing
Right. So
between him and his
basically,
woman or his wife.
yeah, that's what I was getting. So basically, John Davis' character, who is Joshua, he's an undercover, like, I don't know, agent or some kind of CIA technology person that is trying to ultimately shut down all the AI. So basically, China is in conflict with the US. So he goes undercover into China and tries to find the Namada.
Uh huh.
So that's basically supposed to be the leader of they call them the simulants. So he's task is to shut down the technology, but he falls in love with Maya, and she gets pregnant, and while she's pregnant she dies in like an attack that the US unleashes on.
So Maya, was it ever
Allegedly.
really defined that she was both human and both AI?
Was she I didn't know she was is she AI? Because how did she get pregnant if she was?
Yeah, that was one of
I
the
thought they
first
said
questions I
that she
had.
was raised by the simulants because she remember she was an
Okay.
orphan, and then
Okay.
that's how she kind of had love for them
Okay.
because they helped to raise her.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, I wasn't sure about that.
yeah. I mean, because again, this is why the story was like a lot of this stuff. I kind of had to go back and do some research because watching the movie, you really don't know what's going on. So I mean, I'll let you guys go
Well,
ahead,
okay,
Tamika.
so I think with that, and maybe I'm the only one who thought this, but I thought that Alfie was their baby.
So
I thought Alfie was their baby
Alfie,
until they
yeah.
explained
So
that
yeah.
she
Incubated it like she was
No,
creating it.
well, no, Maya. So
Maya
Alfie is
lost
based
the
on their child. So she basically scanned her fetus
yeah,
growing inside her, and I guess Alfie was supposed to be
like a clone.
well, it wasn't a clone. It was kind of like a representation of what their baby would have been.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So
See,
go
I
ahead.
didn't even see. I didn't even get that part.
Well, they told the story, but the way that they told it,
Right.
they said that she lost the
Well,
baby.
because
That
Maya died.
Yeah,
Remember? Because
Maya
she,
died, but
yeah,
before she died, she scanned her
yeah,
embryo. I mean,
yes,
inside
embryo,
of her,
yes, hmm,
and that's how Alfie was fashioned
yeah,
out of a likeness of the embryo that was real, the human child. But then she made an AI child from that,
right,
and she used uh components
right,
of the embryo to make. So what I got was that Alfie was maybe a hybrid of a human and a
Well,
AI
it was weird. I think
because
she,
she grew. She had the
yeah,
ability to develop over time.
right, and never really explained how the simulants were so had human features. It was kind of like just like
But then the
there,
back of their heads was
Yeah, they were,
exposed,
yeah,
and they
which
were
was
recording this
weird.
stuff like it was like when somebody dies, they can like take the
They
memory
had
of
the
the
Yeah,
flash
that's right.
drives in their
flash drives.
head.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, all of that was just kind of just
Yeah.
off the chain for me. Like I was just really like, huh? You know, it just a whole lot of stuff that they was
Yeah.
just putting in this movie.
Yeah.
So I was just trying to follow of what was what, and Alfie ends up being the weapon
Yes.
as they
So
called it.
yeah, Maya, who we learn at the end of the movie, is Namada. So she was kind of like the head of the resistance towards the
The
where
American,
the
yeah,
U.S. and
U.S.
China,
China.
yeah, conflict. So she was kind of heading the resistance because I guess her idea is that since the simulants raised her, they weren't bad, and she wanted to stop the war that they had started.
Which in turn brought conflict between her and her husband because he
Yeah,
was going undercover and she, when they were, I don't know if he was calling being up under attack and they was trying to leave and
yeah,
she heard him talking to the person who they had got captive,
yeah,
that he was undercover and all this stuff, and then she left him, and then she got on this boat, and then that's
yeah,
when her demise
yeah. That's when
allegedly had
the
happened and all
attack
the
happened.
things.
Yeah,
So I was just trying to follow this whole story and figuring out what's going on, and the government coming to talk to, what was his name,
Josh,
Joshua,
Joshua. Yeah,
and trying to get him to be on their side, and
yeah,
opening up these portals, if you will, to kind of show his wife and trying to get him to be on board with them, and then what's that lady's name?
Allison, Janney,
The colonel.
Colonel. Yeah, Colonel Howell.
Yeah, I mean, and she did a number because they took me for a loop, and then I realized, oh, she's the villain because she
Yeah,
told him a story or
Yeah,
two,
that's a
and
different
thinking,
character for her to play too. I'm not used to seeing her like that.
yeah,
I was like, oh my gosh, she didn't turn really quick. You know what I'm saying? Because she's, going into all this stuff to make him, believe, that she didn't been through this and lost a kid and all the things and
yeah.
trying
She
to relate
said.
to him.
Yeah, she revealed that I
Yeah,
guess an
it
AI
was
had
revenge
killed
for her.
her
Yeah.
son or something like that.
It was revenge for her because of that.
Yeah,
Yeah, so just all the things. I mean, just the stuff that you've seen and just how, I don't know, and just seeing how these robots are looking with their heads and
yeah,
like I said, these flash drives and what they can do, and then I mean, this kind of goes into the talking of the AI and how they have them programmed. I mean, they had these machine likes and they can give them commands to go,
yeah,
it's kind of like a timing bomb or whatever to like blast off when they get to the person or whatever that it is, and then go off or whatever to kill whoever. But it's just amazing how technology works and just how it operates, and just the minds of these creators of this movie of where they're even going with this technology. To me, it's just kind of like off the chain.
yeah,
But I mean, I guess something that I liked the character of Joshua. I mean, he was definitely reminds me of his dad. He has his a lot of different of his mannerisms, Denzel Washington or whatever. I did like his character, but I did see how he was trying to connect with Alfie at some point. They kind of grew on each other and built that trust. And kind of like a love between one another, and in turn, him trying to save, because I guess the whole mindset of the regular humans is when they see these robots, if you
yeah.
will, they don't look at them as a human. So when you kill
Yeah.
them, in their mind, their verbiage is, we're just turning it off.
Yeah, like I
Yeah.
said, it's very similar to what's happening, real time in the world. There's people that obviously hate the idea of AI and want to halt any kind of technology development that would get us to a place where we would be in a situation where AI could wipe out the human race. And there's people that are definitely for the development of AI. So, okay, Shauna, you have anything to add?
I mean, my biggest issue, like I've said from the non-spoiler part, was the story,
Yeah,
and that it was very difficult to follow,
it was.
which in turn makes it difficult to break it down,
Mhm.
in order to understand. I mean, I took notes as I do throughout the film, but they're kind of scattered because I couldn't make sense, and there's probably more questions like, um, so there was a part in the beginning where so they give us the definition of Namada,
Yeah,
and then we see they cut to a scene, the the scene of Maya and Joshua Taylor, Sergeant Joshua Taylor, in the bed.
Mm-hmm.
And he's rubbing her stomach, and he's asking her, is this his baby, and all of that. And then, after that, there's a raid that's going on. He's undercover still at this time, but she does not know that he's undercover, and she
Mm-hmm.
feels betrayed by him, and she turns a gun on him.
Yeah.
But then that she doesn't end up shooting him, and then we see them out, in front of a water body where an explosion. The large ship.
Yeah, that it's called the Nomad.
Nomad.
Yeah.
It's been made basically to protect,
Mm-hmm.
on the American side, it's been made to protect from AI. It's like a security or like a police kind of a force
Mm-hmm.
that lives in the sky. Kind of remind me of like the Star Trek ship or,
Yeah.
something like that. This big apparatus, this big thing that has been made to kind of protect and serve.
Mm-hmm.
And so then it shots are fired, and the bomb, actually not shots in it bombs,
Yeah.
which causes the death of Maya.
Mm-hmm.
And then later in the film we find out that she's been comatose, that they've kept her,
Yeah.
her body and her functioning on life support. And that whole scene, Rashad talked about in the beginning how you didn't feel anything for these characters because not enough time was spent
That's
on
true.
developing an interest or a heart for them.
Mm-hmm.
They would just kept throwing information at us that was not even really developed.
Yeah.
And at one point, I thought she was still alive.
Yeah,
Because
they were going to.
he went
Yeah.
on a quest to search to
Yeah.
find her.
They were hitting that she might still be
Yeah,
alive.
and so that he was motivated by this desire to find her.
Yeah.
And and only to get to her, and she's in a vegetative state.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then having to go in and cut the cord, and the child was the other thing that was very interesting, but still my heart was not feeling for her.
Right.
It's like she did a lot of crying. There are other critics that will talk about the performance of this child being Oscar worthy, but I didn't feel anything about her.
No.
She was crying, and she was.
And is this not her first film?
Yeah,
This is
I
her
think this is
very
her
first film.
Well, I will say, since it's her first film, I think she portrayed the character they wanted her to portray. But you just the way that they told the story, you never felt anything.
She talked
for her.
about heaven, and
Yeah.
and wanting to go to heaven and all this stuff. And under normal developed circumstances, you would feel for a little kid 5-6 years old,
Right.
talking about these things.
Mm-hmm.
But because there was lack of development, I didn't feel nothing.
Yeah, because we didn't even know she had these powers to make stuff happen.
Yeah.
Was she fully aware of what she was and what?
That's a good question. I don't know if she knew. I think she knew to an extent, because I think the way that she used her powers.
Yeah, and she would go into this prayer posture.
Yeah.
Like she would hold her hands and like a cupping manner,
Mm-hmm.
and then she would bend her head down, like she was summoning her power out of her to stop and manipulate things.
Mm-hmm.
And you think a kid who knows to go into this posture would know what they're doing, but they were saying that she was not of the maturity yet.
Right.
So there were parts and pieces in there, but
which brings another question for me is, when did all this happen with the child? Because if Maya died on this boat and she was pregnant, how old was the baby? On that thing that she died
that
on.
little ship. I think
ship. When they pulled the cord. That's what you're talking about.
Yeah.
I'm saying when.
So they showed a scene where they did. It was like a flashback where they showed her developing the technology, where they was she had the embryo, and she was kind of
I saw her working that, but I'm just how old was the child?
Well, because by
the time,
which they never explained. So I guess that whatever version of AI they developed for Alphie, I guess it had the ability to grow like a normal human. So it was a baby when Maya initially first created her, and then she just kept growing.
Okay, so I guess I'm saying the baby referred to Maya as their mother.
Yeah, which again, I don't know.
We never saw that.
I don't.
So and I guess that's why I was in my mind. I was thinking she had raised this baby, but and I thought she was alive, but she really wasn't because she was a corpse. Well, she's not a corpse, but she was a vegetable, basically.
Yeah.
I don't know. I guess it's just too many
Yeah,
components.
they
They
never
didn't.
really explained why that the AI considered Namada to be her mother, which I mean, it's an AI. Unless Maya told her. I mean, which they never developed the story enough to have. Even with Joshua, I mean, it was kind of like they were hand feeding you, like, oh well, Joshua's the daddy, which that's why I guess he says at the towards the end of the movie when I forgot where Alphie is captured and they were going to terminate her. He says, "I love you," and I was like, "Well, that's odd because they never really built up to that."
Yeah.
You know,
Too many things that were left hanging.
yeah,
And then you wanted us to have this emotion. And
right,
I did not
yeah,
because of the way the story was laid out for me.
yeah. So I'll give a little bit of history behind the movie. So, director Gareth Edwards in an interview said that I guess he was kind of like given like the point of the movie. Said he wanted it to be a cautionary tale about the future of AI, which for me, I guess that what the point of the movie was, but it didn't hit. Like the reason why, again, I always talk about Megan, but the reason why that hit more as a cautionary tale because I connected with the story. Like I understood what they were trying to accomplish and say, hey, if we don't get AI under control, this is where it could be. And I guess that was the same purpose that Gareth Edwards was trying to accomplish this with this movie, but it just didn't come off like that. I
There's
mean,
just so
I
many
don't
steps
know.
that was not taken.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
mean, like,
there you go. So many steps that was not taken.
yeah. And then also, this movie is currently getting a 67% on Rotten Tomatoes. The audience score is a 77, which I don't know. I just, again, if you're there for sci fi action visuals, then
I
yes.
Yeah.
think they gave you that for
I
sure.
Yeah.
think you gave you the visuals for sure, but the story,
Yeah, the story. So 67% seems a little high. I would probably have it low 50s, but you know. All right, well, we'll go around the room, give our final thoughts and our rating. Um, I don't know. This movie, I was like I said in the beginning, I wanted to see this movie because it ticked a lot of the stuff that I love: action, sci-fi, visuals and stuff. But and I like Gareth Edwards. He's a good director, and I don't know that whoever wrote the story. I guess he wrote the story, him and the other guy. But the story was just a F. The story was terrible. I mean, it seemed like they had
I think they had good ideas,
ideas. There you go. They had good ideas. They
but
just
none of
didn't
them were
execute it.
executed
Yeah,
well.
that's exactly right. So for that reason, I'll give it a 2.
Hmm.
I don't think I can get it. I mean, the visuals were stunning. I like the action, but I just can't give it higher than a 2. So, Mika.
Yeah, okay. So for me, I'll give it a 2.5, and I'll give it 2.5 because I was intrigued and I was engaged of trying to understand what was going on in this movie. I wasn't necessarily bored. I was just trying to understand and I was kind of confused, but I was trying to connect the dots. There was action in this movie for me. Just trying, to me it was engaging, and I'm just trying to get to it and trying to figure out what's going on. I did like the main character. I
Oh,
enjoyed
Joshua.
yeah, Joshua's character. I think he did good. In his acting, I even thought Alfie did good in her acting. So I always want to give people their support and their props for the work that they do. But as far as this storyline, where do we go from here? Who's going to raise Alfie now? Like,
Did she
is
survive?
she just going to
Oh,
be?
she did. She
Yeah,
survived.
She
she
just gonna
survived.
be a little person, and then who's gonna take care of her? Because she still needs some guy. I mean, like where are we going with this story? So
And then they showed Maya and Joshua reuniting in some other
Yeah, so
land.
yeah, that was a weird
that's what I'm
scene
saying.
because
They
Like,
they
were supposed to be
it was
dead,
confusing, but
but
yet
they were
she's supposed to be
together.
dead.
well, because Alfie had took Maya's brain scan from when she was a vegetable,
Oh,
and she
she had
uploaded
the
into her
Yeah.
clone.
yeah.
Yeah.
She had the flash drive in her. She moved it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right,
All the
Shauna.
things.
So, I will give. I'm gonna do a little something different with my scoring here. For the visual part, I give it a 3. For the movie and the story overall, a 1.5. They just need to connect, and they
Yeah.
did not, and that's really all I can say about that because I already said it. The rest of it did before.
All right, well, that's it. Thanks everyone for watching. Thanks
Thank
for
you
listening.
all.
We appreciate you. And with that being said,
See you soon.